Today is Monday, December 16th, and I'm just wondering if anybody's going to give high praise to the star of the Cowboys' win over Carolina on Sunday.
And now, a word from our title sponsor.
Are all financial advisors fiduciaries? Fewer than you think. Not knowing could reduce your lifestyle. Hi, I'm Mitch Kramer, founder and CEO of Fluent Financial. A fiduciary is a regulatory term to reduce conflicts of interest in wealth management. A fiduciary always works in your best interest. A non-fiduciary advisor might put their compensation or company ahead of yours. At Fluent Financial, we are certified financial planners acting as fiduciary advisors. To learn more, go to fluentfinancial.com or Fluent Financial's YouTube channel.
For more than 3 decades, Bob's Steak and Chop House has remained an icon of DFW restaurants. Why? Well, maybe it's because of Bob. He's fanatical about cleanliness and friendliness, and his food, oh my Lord, his food. If you've been there, you know about it. If you haven't been there, you should know about it. The original Bob welcomes you at either of his 2 locations, Bob's on Lemon Avenue or the sparkling new Bob's at Craig Ranch, McKinney. Once again, on December 26th, on radio station The Ticket, I'll anchor the all-day broadcast of the CrestCars.com Normathon, benefiting the Austin Street Center for the Homeless. The centerpiece of all previous 23 Normathons has been the car raffle, and Crest this year has provided us 3 spectacular brand new cars, a Cadillac, an Infiniti, and a Volvo. To try to win one of them, you buy the tickets at $100 each. We will sell no more than 4,500. We will draw the winners on the air live the night of the Normathon at 7:10 p.m. Get your tickets by using your credit card. It's easy and it's safe. Go to the website www.austinstreet.org and then click on Normathon. Hurry! Tickets for the Crest car raffle sell out early every year. 3 gorgeous Crest vehicles are available. Get your raffle tickets at www.austinstreet.org and then click on Normathon.
If I were awarding a game ball in the Cowboys locker room after the win yesterday at Carolina, I know who I'd give it to. Oh yes, CeeDee Lamb had a fantastic day receiving. Dowdle had another wonderful day running. And Osa Odigizua was terrific in the middle of the Cowboys' defensive line. But my game ball for the win against Carolina would go to head coach Mike McCarthy and his staff. Consider what they were facing this week. Monday evening, they had a gut-wrenching loss to Cincinnati that tore up virtually all of their playoff hopes. And 5.5 days later, the kickoff was happening in Carolina. Imagine how down the Cowboys must have been Monday night after that loss, that last-minute loss to Cincinnati. And consider that in Carolina, they were meeting a team with a poor record, but looked eager to play. They'd played well 5 games in a row coming into Sunday against the Cowboys. What a job by Mike McCarthy and his staff. Not only getting the Cowboys up, but getting the Cowboys in gear to dominate virtually all 60 minutes against the Panthers. Next, I thought Sunday was an incredible example of how much football is a game of momentum. Entering the game, Dallas didn't have momentum off that awful loss to Cincinnati. And Carolina did have momentum. They'd won 2 of their last 5 games and played Kansas City and Tampa and Philadelphia right to the final gun. But when the game started, Carolina looked like they still had that momentum. They took the ball and moved it downfield methodically. But on the 13th play of that drive, a first down at the Cowboy 18-yard line, Bryce Young was flushed out of the pocket and decided to run. And he scrambled. And instead of sliding, he dived head first. That left himself vulnerable to having the ball poked out by Marshawn Kneeland. Dallas recovered, and Carolina, with an enormous opportunity to take immediate momentum of the game, lost that opportunity. They would never, ever get a chance again to lead in the first half of the game. But in the last minutes of the first half, with Dallas already up 10 and moving inside the Carolina 20 again, Cooper Rush made a massive mistake. He simply fumbled the ball as he started to roll out, dropped it, and Carolina recovered. And not only did that keep points off the board and keep the Dallas lead at 10, but on the very first play of the Carolina possession, an incredible mistake in the Dallas secondary left the wide receiver Coker all alone running downfield. An 83-yard touchdown. Carolina had narrowed the lead to 10-7 at the half, a half where Dallas dominated virtually every moment of the first half. And yet, Dallas only led 10-7. You can imagine what the locker room must have been for Carolina. They were down 3, but suddenly they were right back in the game because they were getting the second half kickoff. And I can imagine there were some disappointed people in that Dallas locker room knowing how they'd control the first 30 minutes and yet only led by 3 points. And Carolina got the ball to start the second half. But the first play of the second half, Young was sacked by Osa Odigizua, and he fumbled, and Dallas recovered. And 5 plays later, a touchdown pass to Jalen Tolbert, and Dallas led 17-7, and they would never look back. Momentum, loss of momentum, momentum potentially regained, momentum lost. Dallas eases on home with a 16-point win. Next, this game also told us something about each of the team's quarterbacks. Cooper Rush doesn't have a big arm. He doesn't throw the ball much downfield, though he did a couple of times Sunday. But he's a solid NFL backup quarterback. Solid. And Dallas should think immediately of how they make sure they get Cooper Rush back in the fold next season as the backup quarterback here, because he's free. On the other side, Bryce Young looked to be making progress. The few games he'd been back after being benched and getting his job back, Bryce Young had looked like a much better player. But in Sunday's game, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. But something else, besides all those mistakes, I have to tell you, I haven't seen a lot of Bryce Young playing quarterback. Carolina games are not must-see TV the last year and a half or so. But watching Bryce Young Sunday, I don't like his body language. He's passive, not inspiring, not commanding, not fiery, and also not big At times he looks very small and almost frail at times. I'm not sure Bryce Young is a long-time answer, quarterback for Carolina. Next, the game brought to the forefront two challenging situations this offseason for the Cowboys. First, their defensive tackle situation is not good. It's not deep, but it does have one solid player, and that's the aforementioned Osa Odigizua. Boy, he had a solid game against Carolina yesterday, and he's been a solid player in his 4 years here. But he's free after this season. And the NFL really likes defensive players who can stop the run and contribute to the pass rush. Odigizua is going to cost some money this offseason because solid defensive tackles get offers. And to that note, Stephen Jones this past week said that the Cowboys' cap this coming offseason would be really tight. That's a quote. Really tight again. There's money being carried over from players who are gone. There's dead money coming up for potential players who will go away. DeMarcus Lawrence, Brandon Cook, Zach Martin. And that's not going to leave a lot of money for the Cowboys to spend in the offseason. Much like last offseason, when the club got heavy criticism for doing very little in the way of talent acquisition. Which brings us, besides Odigizua, to Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle pounded away again yesterday. 6 yards a carry, 149 yards in all in his last 3 games, 392 yards rushing, 3 straight 100-yard games, and in those 3 weeks, the most rushing yards of any back in the NFL. Rico Dowdle now is at 880 yards in the season. And at the pace of the last few weeks, Rico Dowdle is going to wind up as an 1,100 or 1,200 yard rusher. And he's free. Free for anybody to bid on. Odigizua and Dowdle together this year make about $2.5 million combined. Next year, if the Cowboys are to keep them, I think the Cowboys should figure they're going to cost combined $15 to $20 million. And remember, the Cowboys' cap is really tight next year. And we haven't even begun to address other Cowboy free agents to be, like Jordan Lewis, Chuma Edoga, Chauncey Golston, Cooper Rush, Eric Kendricks, and the punter Brian Anger. And all of those are playing significant roles on this team. And finally, Dallas almost got some unexpected help in the playoff chase. When New Orleans rallied from 14 points down to get to within 1 point of Washington and went for 2 to win the game, but failed. Wow, a New Orleans upset would have been so inspiring to the Cowboys, but it didn't happen. Dallas is now 6-8 with 3 games left. Washington, the nearest wild card for the Cowboys to chase, is 9-5 with 3 games left. Well, the math is pretty easy. Dallas has got to beat Tampa, Philly, and Washington, all conceivably playoff teams, in their final 3 games. and then have Washington lose all of their final 3 games of the season. And that's as faint as the Cowboy hopes are. But that doesn't even account for other teams who have better records than the Cowboys, like Atlanta and the Rams. If they make late runs, they would leave the Cowboys behind them also. But that's for next week and the weeks after to decide. Right now, the Cowboys found a way to win at a very poor Carolina team. But once again, here's a game ball to Mike McCarthy.
Today's episode brought to you by Fluent Financial. Retire sooner, better lifestyle. And by Crest Cars. There's good, there's better, and then there's Crest. And by Bob's Steak and Chop House.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Just Wondering with Norm Hitzges. If you enjoyed what you heard, please hit follow, and a fresh new episode will be delivered to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you know someone who might enjoy our work, please share it with them. I'm Norm Hitzges, and I'm always just wondering about something.
And I'm Mary Hitchkus, and I'm just wondering too.